Am I the asshole for telling my wife it was a mistake to stay at a baby shower? So my wife, 26F, and I, 28M, have been married for a year and began trying to conceive in September. No luck so far, but the doctor did say at our first appointment that it typically takes close to a year for most couples to conceive. She's been telling people that she's infertile, which isn't true. Doctor said she isn't. My wife and I went to my work Christmas party in mid-December, where my wife met my coworker's wife, let's call her Mary, and they took a liking to each other. Mary was pregnant and invited my wife to her baby shower, which was yesterday, and my wife sounded excited to go. I asked her when we were alone if she thinks she'll be fine. I know my wife and I know what typically bothers her. I knew she wouldn't bask in happiness over someone else's pregnancy, so I urged her to think it through. She said she's fine and she was excited, so she went. The baby shower was yesterday. About 40 minutes in, she calls me and asks me to come. I was at a cafe nearby because I knew she wouldn't stay long. I find her at the entrance of the house crying and a bunch of women consoling her. When she saw me, she came to me and pulled me to the garden to talk. She said she was dancing and looked at Mary's pregnant belly and couldn't take it anymore, started crying and ran out. All of Mary's friends followed her out to console her. I consoled her myself, and said, "Okay, let's go, babe. Where do you want to go? We can go for a drive so you can feel better." She looked at me weird and asked why she would leave. I asked why she would stay. She said she feels better now and can go have a good time. I sighed and said, "Babe, you know that's not going to happen. And I doubt the attention will be on Mary after this, and that's not great. It's her baby shower and she deserves to be celebrated. I can't see how people are going to shift their focus from consoling you to celebrating her if you're still there." She rolled her eyes at me and said she was going back in and that I could leave. 3 hours later, the party was nearing its end, so I go back to pick her up. My coworker and I stepped into the house and lo and behold, everyone is sitting in a circle with my wife being the center of attention. Coworker looked for his wife and she wasn't there at all. He called her and she said she had left ages ago. My wife and I entered the car and I first asked her how she was feeling and we spoke about it for a few minutes. I then asked her what happened and why Mary left. She said, "Oh crap, Mary. I forgot to say bye to her. I told her Mary left ages ago." I then said, "I know you're going through a hard time, but why on earth would you and her friends do this? If they consoled you for a few minutes that's fine, but the entire party? We really should have left earlier." She looked at me so offended and said, "Are you Mary's husband or mine?" We stared at each other for a while and just drove home in silence. I told her I want to talk to her this morning to sort things out, but she ignored me and left the house. Not the asshole. Your wife turned someone else's celebration into her own pity party, to be point that the guest of honor left her own shower, and doesn't realize she did anything wrong? Do you really want to have a child with a woman like that? I don't really know where to start with this. Your wife sounds like a lot. You've only been trying to conceive since September. That's hardly any time at all. It's very unusual to get pregnant straight away. There is no evidence there's an issue, yet she's acting like she's having fertility issues, which is very attention-seeking behavior and pretty insensitive to people with real problems. Then she meets this woman just a few weeks ago, goes to her baby shower and completely ruins it and makes it all about herself. That's really horrible. Not the asshole for telling her that she shouldn't have stayed. You're completely right. But you're a little bit the asshole for enabling your wife's unhinged behavior. Am I the asshole for wanting to talk to my daughter's new teacher about being nicer to the kids? My daughter's preschool hired a new teacher, teacher's aide, early 20s, earlier this year. My daughter adores this teacher and my wife, who is also a teacher, speaks highly of her. We just had a baby, so I've been taking care of drop-off and pick-up lately, and I've been able to form my own opinion of this teacher. In my opinion, she messes with the kids too much. These are all examples that I've seen. For Christmas we got every teacher a box of chocolates from a small shop near the school. The shop wrapped the boxes and they have the name of the shop on the wrapping paper. Everyone knows what it is by looking at it. My daughter ran in yelling, "We got you chocolate," and the teacher said, "Abby." It was supposed to be a surprise. She still hugged my daughter and thanked her, but I felt that the remark was unnecessary. Another time, I picked my daughter up towards the end of snack time. My daughter came up to the teacher and asked for more snack. Teacher said, "Abby, you already ate all of our snacks. If I give you more we won't have anything to eat tomorrow. You're about to go home and have dinner anyways." In my opinion, the first 2 sentences were very unnecessary. This last one just happened on Friday. Pickup ends at 4:30 and I'm guessing the teacher leaves at 4:45. I called the school and said that I was going to be late for pickup and I got there at around 4:45. When I got there, my daughter was with a little boy, whose parents had been there for 20 minutes but he was refusing to leave. My daughter was getting her stuff and I saw the teacher give the boy a spray bottle, a rag, and gloves and say, "Jack, if you want to stay, you're gonna have to clean the tables then vacuum. I have to go home and your mom can't wait forever." She went to the closet, got her stuff, and started walking to the door. His mom also started to walk away. The little boy dropped the cleaning supplies, started crying, and ran for his mom when the teacher made it to the door and his mom was out of sight. In my opinion, there had to have been a better way to get him to go than scaring the crap out of him. I get that she's joking, but these kids are 3 and 4 and don't get it. My daughter has never admitted to this teacher making her upset, but I still don't like how she talks to my daughter or the other kids. My wife and I were talking about the school and I said that I wanted to talk to the teacher about being nicer to my daughter and the other kids. My wife rolled her eyes at me and said that I'm starting to sound like a certain parent at her school that she and the other teachers can't stand and that if I insist that everyone coddles our daughter then she's going to have a hard time when she's older. Am I the SSS hole for not liking the teacher and wanting her to be nicer? You are the asshole. The teacher sounds perfectly nice and correcting children is part of her job. You are the asshole, you're making something out of nothing. You're making a big deal out of something kids can understand. Eat food today, no food tomorrow. You're close to dinner time. As far as the chocolate. That is overreaction. You give gifts, they're supposed to be a surprise. Relax. You are that parent every teacher hates. They have a hard enough job. I'd say you are the asshole but you'd probably ask me to be nicer about it. Edit. Thanks for all the comments and awards y'all. Made my day. Yes, you are the asshole. Get some thicker skin. Your wife likes the teacher. Your kid likes the teacher. If she were mean to your daughter would feel that. You're not doing your kid, or your wife, any favors, here. Am I the asshole for telling my half-sisters they need to seek help and leave my mom alone? I'm 19 male and this is about my older half-sisters. My dad had them with a high school girlfriend but was never in their lives. He'd sleep with her a few times and just never be involved with the girls. She was a train wreck and he made a promise to her parents that he would take them if she got so bad they were suffering for it. But he never planned to keep the promise and he never told anyone about them, never supported them or anything. So he married my mom and she had no idea. Then when she was pregnant with me the grandparents showed up and said the girls were not being taken care of and he needed to step up and be their dad. My mom was home on her own and was in so much shock. The girls were 6 and 8 at the time, and were 7 and 9 by the time I was born, I think. Dad got home after several hours and once he realized mom wasn't handling it like some saint he was trying to talk her into them raising them together. She didn't want to stay with a liar or raise someone else's kids so she left him and they divorced when I was 4 months old. Dear old dad didn't want them either and would allow them to fixate on my mom. He tried to pawn them off on her many times. He'd ask in front of me for her to take them. He'd try to get her co-parenting the 3 of us instead of just me. Mom always kept firm and tried to keep that stuff away from me but dad never did. The girls spent years wanting mom to be their mom. They were in their teens and trying to use me to get mom to adopt them and stuff of that nature. It was sad. It was awkward as hell for me. The pressure was a lot. I hated dad and when I was 14 I stopped seeing him, and by extension the girls, who still lived with him. Then a couple of years ago they made contact with me and tried to have a relationship again. But they were still so fixated on mom and it made me uncomfortable so I always tried to avoid heavy topics with them. A couple of weeks ago while I was at mom's, they showed up and started yelling at mom and telling her that she was a piece of shit and she became their mom the moment she married dad and should have been there for them. They told her she owed them as much as she owed me and how could she not love them. I stepped in and told them they needed to leave and that mom was not their mom and they needed to accept that. It took some time but they left after I told them they needed to seek help to get over their fixation on mom and learn to accept that she's not their mom. I told them they need to stay away from mom, leave her alone, and work on themselves. They texted me after that I was an asshole just like her and they deserved so much better. Am I the asshole? ETA. To answer some of the questions that keep coming up. My mom did not live with them. She was gone once she found out about the lies, and she was not part of their lives in any kind of parental or familial capacity, even at the start. She left Dad and moved out. No trying to make it work. Their mom was not involved. She was not a good mother, she didn't want them either, and the grandparents did not stay in their lives either. The only asshole here is your father, who fucked those girls up so bad that 2 girls in their 20s are convinced that their dad's second wife should act and love them like a mother. I feel sorry for them, to be honest. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. She is not their parent and had no desire to parent them. Your father is the asshole though for what he did to those girls. They have a mom, and it's not yours. Not the asshole. Your dad, however, is a dumpster of a human being. This solely is his fault. You and your mom were the unfortunate targets in a situation of his doing. Your half-sisters are hurting, but their anger is misplaced. Am I the asshole going to my brother's bachelor's party despite wife's disapproval? My brother's bachelor's party was 2 weeks ago. I was part of it and my brother considered my presence a huge deal. However, my wife did not want me nor approved of me going. That's because we have a newborn at home and she didn't want me to travel towns away. I said it'd be fine, even invited mom to help, but my wife refused. I invited her mom instead and she was still mad. I got back and she refused to speak to me entirely. I already explained how important this was for my brother, but she said I prioritized him and his party over her and our son. She's still refusing to talk. AITA? Info. How old is newborn? How difficult was the pregnancy and delivery? How is your wife recovering? How is the baby doing? Is your wife up to date on all of her vaccinations and able to breastfeed? Are you up to date on all of your vaccinations, and did you take precautions against flu, RSV and the other virus going around? Your child has no immune system until they are 6 months old. They are entirely reliant on antibodies they get from breast milk to protect against diseases. Pediatric wards are at capacity.